Elena Martinez stands in her pristine Coral Gables kitchen, marinating chicken for the family barbecue. The morning light filters through plantation shutters, casting geometric shadows across Italian marble countertops that still gleam after 15 years. At 52, she remains the pillar of their Cuban-American family, a successful real estate agent who escaped poverty through sheer determination and an iron will that both saved and cursed her. Her manicured fingers work methodically, massaging garlic and lime into the meat. This kitchen, this house, this life, all of it represents everything she swore she'd achieve when she was 12 years old, watching her mother cry over unpaid bills in their cramped Hialeah apartment. Every granite surface, every stainless steel appliance, every carefully chosen accent piece whispers the same promise: never again. Upstairs, Roberto sleeps the heavy sleep of exhaustion. Another 60-hour week at his construction company has left him drained but satisfied. He builds other people's dreams now, solid and reliable as the houses he constructs. Their partnership has always worked like this: Elena's ambition driving them forward, Roberto's steady hands making it real. The grandfather clock in the hallway chimes 11 times. Diego is supposed to arrive at noon. Elena checks her phone for the 4th time in 10 minutes, ignoring the knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. No missed calls, no texts. Just the family photo from last Christmas as her wallpaper, Diego's, arm around her shoulders, his smile bright and convincing. Before she knew about the needle marks, before she understood that her son's charm had curdled into manipulation. She's been enabling his addiction for 3 years, writing checks and making excuses, believing that love could cure what medicine couldn't touch. But last week's phone call changed everything. Another rehab program, another $15,000, another promise that this time would be different. Today, for the first time in her life, Elena Martinez is ready to say no to her only child. There, chicken goes into the refrigerator with precise movements. Everything in Elena's world has its place, its purpose, its proper order. She built this life from nothing, and she maintains it through pure force of will. It's her greatest strength, and though she doesn't know it yet, her fatal flaw. Elena believes she can control everything, including saving a son who may be beyond salvation. The clock ticks toward noon, and Elena begins preparing side dishes, her movements automatic and sure. Perfect Sunday, perfect family, perfect life. In 6 hours, all of it will be shattered by a single gunshot. But for now, Elena Martinez still believes that willpower alone can hold her world together. The doorbell doesn't ring until 2:15. Elena hears Roberto's footsteps on the stairs, then muffled voices at the front door. Her son's laugh, still musical, still capable of charming strangers, drifts into the kitchen where she stands frozen, a wooden spoon halfway to her mouth for tasting. "Mummy!" Diego's voice precedes him into the kitchen, that same bright tone he's used since childhood, when he knew he was in trouble. But when he appears in the doorway, Elena's breath catches. Her beautiful boy, 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered. Like his father, with her own dark eyes and quick smile. Looks like he's been hollowed out from the inside. His designer shirt hangs loose on his frame. His skin has a greyish pallor that makeup couldn't hide. Most telling are his eyes, darting, restless, never quite meeting hers for more than a second. This is what $200,000 in private school tuition and a University of Miami business degree has become. Traffic was murder on US 1, Diego says, kissing her cheek. His embrace feels fragile, all sharp angles and nervous energy. You know how it is on Sundays. Elena knows her son left his Brickell Avenue apartment 40 minutes away. Traffic doesn't explain 2 hours. Roberto follows him in, and Elena watches their family dynamic play out in silent choreography. Roberto, desperate to believe everything is fine, immediately offers Diego a beer. Diego accepts with enthusiasm that seems manufactured. Elena sees through every gesture, every smile, every carefully casual comment about work going well and life getting back on track. The Hendersons' listing finally closed, Elena says, testing him. The one on Star Island you helped me stage last year. Diego's face goes blank for a fraction of a second. Right, the Hendersons. Great people. He's forgotten completely. Last year, when he was still functional, he'd spent weeks helping her prepare that property. Now it's just another missing piece of who he used to be. Roberto, oblivious, launches into stories about his latest construction project. Diego nods at appropriate intervals, but Eleanor notices his frequent glances toward the bathroom, the way his fingers drum against his beer bottle, how he checks his phone obsessively. So I was thinking, Diego says, his voice taking on that particular cadence Elena has learned to fear. Maybe we could talk later, just the three of us. There's this opportunity. Family's starting to arrive, Elena interrupts, nodding toward the backyard where Carmen's SUV is pulling into the driveway. Your tia Carmen's here with the kids. Diego's face flickers with annoyance before he recovers. Of course. Family first. But his eyes have gone harder, calculating. Elena recognizes this look. It's the same expression he wore at 8 years. Old when he wanted something and was planning his approach. Through the kitchen window, Elena watches her sister emerge from her car, followed by her husband and 3 teenagers. Carmen waves enthusiastically, her perpetual optimism intact despite knowing nothing about the storm brewing inside the house. Behind them, Miguel's pickup truck turns the corner, loaded with folding chairs and his famous homemade salsa. I'll go help them set up, Roberto says, grateful for the distraction. He's always been better with action than words, more comfortable building things than navigating the emotional minefields their family has become. Alone with Diego for the first time. Elena feels the weight of 3 years' worth of lies settling between them. Her son leans against the counter with studied casualness, but she can see the desperation swimming just beneath the surface. It's good to see you looking so well, mijo, she says carefully. Diego's smile is quick and bright. Thanks, Mummy. I've been working out, eating better, really focusing on myself, you know. Elena nods, playing along with the fiction. Outside, children's voices are already rising from the backyard as cousins reunite. The sound should bring her joy. This is why she works so hard, for moments like this. But instead, it fills her with dread. Her family is gathering for what should be a perfect Sunday, unaware that in a few hours, everything they think they know about each other will be destroyed forever. The backyard transforms into organized chaos. Carmen directs the placement of folding tables, while her teenagers grudgingly arrange chairs. Miguel fires up the grill, sending the first wisps of charcoal smoke into the humid afternoon air. Children cannonball into the pool with joyous abandon, their screams of delight echoing off the houses in the gated community. Elena moves through it all, like a conductor orchestrating a familiar symphony. She emerges from the kitchen carrying platters of food, accepting compliments on her potato salad, deflecting questions about why she looks tired. Everyone treats Diego like he's doing wonderfully. They don't see what she sees. They don't notice how he excuses himself to the bathroom every 20 minutes. They don't catch the way his conversation jumps from topic to topic without connection. They don't see him checking his phone constantly, his jaw tightening with each glance at the screen. Diego looks great, Carmen whispers to Elena as they arrange desserts on the serving table. So much better than last time. Eleanor remembers last time, Christmas dinner, when Diego nodded off at the table and claimed he was just tired from work. Yes, she says simply. He's been focusing on his health. Through the kitchen window, she watches Roberto manning the grill while Diego hovers nearby, talking rapidly, gesturing with increasing animation. Her husband's face grows progressively more concerned as their son speaks, but she can't hear the words from this distance. The memory hits her suddenly, triggered by the smell of marinating meat and charcoal smoke. She's 8 years old again, standing in the cramped kitchen of their Hialeah apartment, watching her mother stretch a single chicken to feed 6 people. The power had been turned off 2 days earlier, and they were cooking on a camping stove her uncle had loaned them. Mija, her mother had said, stirring a pot of rice that was more water than grain. Promise me something. Promise me You'll never let money control your life. Eleanor had made that promise, not understanding then that money's absence could control a life just as thoroughly as its presence. She built her entire existence around ensuring her family would never know that particular kind of desperation. Every commission check, every successful closing, every carefully invested dollar was a brick in the wall she'd built against poverty. But now, watching Diego drain his third beer in an hour while sweet-talking his father, Elena understands that money can become a weapon in the hands of someone willing to use it. Every check she'd written for rehab, every crisis she'd solved with her credit card, every time she'd paid his rent or covered his debt, she'd thought she was building a safety net. Instead, she'd been constructing a trap. Eleanor? Carmen's voice pulls her back to the present. You were miles away. Just thinking about Mom, Elena says, which is true enough. She would have loved this, Carmen says, gesturing at the controlled chaos of their extended family. All of us together, the kids playing, plenty of food. This is what she wanted for us. Elena nods, but her eyes drift back to Diego and Roberto, by the grill. Her son is speaking more urgently now, his hands cutting through the air. Roberto's shoulders are tense, his grip tight on the grilling tongs. Whatever Diego is asking for, Roberto doesn't want to hear it. Miguel's booming laugh draws her attention to the pool area, where he's teaching the youngest cousins how to dive. His joy is infectious and uncomplicated. He's never had to watch someone he loves disappear by degrees. Never had to learn the difference between helping and enabling. Elena remembers the second rehab program, 18 months ago. Diego had been clean for 6 weeks when he called, sobbing, begging for money for rent. She'd driven to his apartment that night with a check, believing his tears, believing his promises. The apartment was pristine, but she noticed the expensive new television, the designer clothes hanging in his closet, the empty space where his laptop used to be. She never asked where the laptop went. She didn't want to know. The third rehab program lasted 3 months. Diego came home for Thanksgiving, looking genuinely healthy, his eyes clear, his conversation coherent. Elena allowed herself to hope. Then she found the credit card statement, the one she'd given him for emergencies only, showing thousands of dollars in cash advances spread across Miami Beach ATMs. This time will be different, she tells herself, the same words she's whispered, like a prayer for 3 years. But today, watching her son work his father with practiced desperation while their family celebrates around them, Elena finally understands the truth. Different means saying no. Different means letting him face the consequences. Different means accepting that her love alone cannot save him. The smoke from the grill drifts across the yard, carrying with it the scent of charred meat and Elena's burning certainty that this perfect Sunday is about to become their last. Elena is alone in the kitchen, transferring grilled vegetables from the serving tray to a warmer platter when Diego appears in the doorway. The noise from the backyard, laughter, splashing, the clink of beer bottles, feels suddenly distant, as if someone has turned down the volume on their family gathering. Mammy. His voice has shed its earlier brightness. Now it carries the weight of a man who's rehearsed this conversation in his head dozens of times. Can we talk? Elena doesn't look up from arranging the peppers and onions in perfect rows. We're talking now. I mean, really talk. Diego steps into the kitchen, and she can smell the beer on his breath mixed with something sharper, the metallic scent of desperation. About what I mentioned to Papi. Your father doesn't make financial decisions without consulting me. Eleanor's voice remains steady, but her hands still. She's 45 years old again, sitting across from a loan officer who's explaining why a single mother with 2 jobs and perfect credit still can't qualify for a mortgage. The humiliation of that moment taught her that dignity was sometimes the only weapon you had. Diego moves closer, positioning himself where she has to look at him. Up close, she can see the fine tremor in his hands, the way his pupils don't quite respond properly to the kitchen's bright lights. This isn't about money, Mammy. This is about my life. Every conversation we've had for 3 years has been about your life, Diego, and everyone has cost us 15,000, 20,000, 8,000, always just enough to fix everything. Elena sets down the serving spoon and finally meets his eyes. Tell me how this time is different. Diego's composure cracks slightly. Because if I don't get this money, I'm dead. Not strung out, not relapsed, dead. Who do you owe? People you don't want to know about. I asked who you owe. Diego's jaw works silently for a moment. Elena recognizes this, the internal calculation of how much truth he needs to tell to get what he wants. Some guys in South Beach, I was using their product and I got behind on payments. How far behind? 15 grand. When? When what? When did you get behind? When did the debt happen? Another calculation. A few weeks ago. Eleanor nods slowly. And the last rehab program I paid for. The one that was supposed to fix everything. When did you leave that? Diego's face flushes. That's not... This is different, Mammy. These people, they don't just write you off. They make examples. So, you were using while you were in rehab. While I was paying $12,000 to help you get clean. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Elena's voice rises slightly, then catches herself. Through the window, she can see Roberto turning to look toward the house, concerned. She lowers her voice to a whisper that somehow carries more weight than shouting. You took my money, looked me in the eye, and lied. I never lied to you. You told me you were clean. I was trying to get clean. You told me the program was working. It was working. You called me from rehab and told me you were proud of the progress you were making while you were high. Diego's face crumples. For a moment, Elena sees her little boy again, the one who used to climb into her bed during thunderstorms, who brought her dandelions from the yard and called them flowers. Mammy, please, I know I've messed up. I know I've disappointed you. But this time, don't. Elena's voice cuts through his words like a blade. Don't tell me this time is different. Don't tell me you've learned your lesson. Don't tell me you just need one more chance. Diego's face hardens. So you're going to let me die? I'm going to offer you the same thing I've offered twice before. You can come home. You can live here, follow house rules, attend outpatient treatment. I'll pay for therapy, for counseling, for any legitimate help you want. They don't care about outpatient treatment. They want their money. Then call the police. Diego laughs, but there's no humor in it. The police? Mummy, these aren't the kind of people you call the police about. Then call someone else. Call your sponsor. Call the treatment center. Call anyone except me asking for drug money. It's not drug money. It's money for drug dealers, Diego. That makes it drug money. The kitchen falls silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sounds of their family enjoying what's supposed to be a perfect Sunday. Diego leans against the counter, his shoulders sagging. You don't understand, he says quietly. You've never understood. You think this is about choices, about willpower, about just deciding to be better. You think because you pulled yourself out of poverty through hard work, everyone can pull themselves out of anything the same way. Eleanor feels something cold, settling in her chest. What I understand is that I have given you every advantage I never had. Private school, college, connections, money, support, love, control. The word hangs between them like a physical presence. You've given me control, Diego continues, his voice gaining strength. Every dollar came with strings. Every check came with conditions. Every bit of help came with a lecture about gratitude and responsibility and not wasting opportunities. Elena stares at her son, seeing a stranger. I gave you everything. You gave me everything except the right to fail without losing your love. The accusation hits her like a physical blow. That's not, isn't it? Diego's eyes are bright with tears and rage. When did you stop loving me, Mammy? When I got arrested? When I dropped out of the MBA program? When I lost the job at the bank? When did I become a problem to be solved instead of a son to be loved? Elena opens her mouth to deny it, but no words come. Through the window, she sees Roberto walking toward the house, his face creased with worry. "I'm trying to save your life," she whispers. "No," Diego says, his voice breaking. "You're trying to save your reputation. You're trying to save the perfect family, the perfect life, the perfect story about the woman who escaped poverty and built something beautiful. I'm just the crack in your foundation." Roberto appears in the doorway, his timing perfect and terrible. "Everything okay in here?" Elena and Diego stare at each other across the kitchen island. 30 years of love and disappointment, and fear crystallized into this single moment. Elena can feel her marriage, her family, her carefully constructed world balanced on the edge of a knife. "Your son," she says quietly, not taking her eyes off Diego, "is asking us to pay $15,000 to drug dealers." Roberto's face goes pale. "Diego? It's not that simple," Diego starts. "Yes," Elena says, her voice steady as bedrock. "It is." The kitchen door slams shut behind Roberto, the sound echoing through the house like a gunshot. Elena stands frozen at the marble countertop, her hands still gripping the edge where moments before she had delivered her ultimatum to Diego. The silence stretches between husband and wife, 30 years of marriage suddenly feeling as fragile as the wine glasses trembling in the china cabinet from Roberto's forceful entrance. "You heard everything," Elena says, not turning around. It wasn't a question. Roberto's work boots scrape against the tile floor as he steps closer. "Enough." His voice carries the exhaustion of a man who had built houses with his bare hands for 3 decades, but couldn't seem to build a bridge to his own son. "Elena, he's our boy. Our only—" "Don't." She whirls around, her dark eyes blazing with a fury that makes Roberto step back. "Don't you dare use that against me. You think I don't know he's our only child? You think I don't feel it in my bones every single day?" Through the kitchen window, they can see their extended family trying to maintain the illusion of normalcy. Carmen is helping her teenage daughter apply sunscreen by the pool, while Miguel flips burgers on the grill with the mechanical precision of a man desperate for distraction. The children's laughter feels obscene against the weight of what's happening inside the house. Roberto runs his weathered hands through his graying hair. $15,000, Elena. That's all. We have it. The business is good. Your commissions. This month alone. It's never just 15,000. Elena's voice cracks, and she pressed her palm against her chest as if trying to hold her heart inside. It was 5,000 for the first rehab, then 8 for the second, then 12 when he said he'd really changed. And every time, every single time, I believed him because I wanted to believe him. This is different. How? The word comes out as a whisper, but it cuts through the air like a blade. How is this different, Roberto? Because he says people will hurt him. Because he's finally scared enough to make it sound real. Roberto's shoulders sag. At 55, he looks every one of his years, and then some. The Miami sun has weathered his face into deep lines, but today, those lines seem to deepen by the minute. Because I can't lose him, Elena. I can't lose both of you. The admission hangs between them, raw and desperate. Elena feels something crack inside her chest. Not her resolve, but something deeper. The careful architecture of their marriage, built on shared dreams and complementary strengths, suddenly reveals its fault lines. You think I want to lose him? Her voice is barely audible now. You think this is easy for me? Through the window, Diego emerges from wherever he had disappeared to, his movements jerky and agitated. He's talking rapidly to Miguel, his hands gesturing wildly, and Elena can see her brother-in-law's face growing increasingly uncomfortable. He's using again, she says, her voice flat. Right now, at our family barbecue. Roberto follows her gaze, and his face goes pale. You don't know that. I found a needle in our bathroom 20 minutes ago. The words drop between them like stones into still water. In our bathroom, Roberto, where our grandchildren might have found it. Roberto's face crumples. For a moment, Elena almost reaches for him, almost lets herself crumble into his arms the way she has for 30 years. But then, she remembers the needle, hidden behind the toilet paper, and her resolve hardens into something unbreakable. "I won't enable this anymore," she says. "I won't let him destroy what we've built. Not our marriage, not our family, not our home. He's already destroying it!" Roberto's voice explodes out of him, surprising them both. "Look at us! We're standing here arguing while our family is outside pretending everything is normal. He's already won, Elena. He's already torn us apart." The truth of it settles over them like dust. Outside, Carmen is calling for everyone to gather for photos. The annual family barbecue picture that will never happen this year. Children are running around the pool, their joy a stark contrast to the darkness seeping through the house. Elena walks to the kitchen window and watches her sister orchestrating the family, trying to create the perfect moment. Carmen has always been the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over rough edges and pretended problems didn't exist. But even she can't ignore the tension radiating from inside the house. "I blame myself," Roberto says quietly. "Every day, I blame myself. I worked too much when he was little. I let you handle everything: school, discipline, decisions. I thought providing was enough." Elena turns to face her husband, seeing the guilt carved into every line of his face. "And I blame myself for being too protective, for smoothing every path, solving every problem, never letting him fail when failure might have taught him something. So what do we do now?" Roberto's voice breaks. "How do we save him?" "We don't." The words taste like ashes in Elena's mouth. "We save ourselves. We save our marriage. We save what's left of our family." Roberto stares at her as if she's spoken in a foreign language. "You want to abandon him? I want to stop enabling him. There's a difference. Is there?" Roberto's voice rises. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're writing off our son to protect your pride." The accusation hits Elena like a physical blow. For a moment, she can't breathe. "My pride. You've built this perfect life, this perfect image. Elena Martinez, the woman who escaped poverty, who never makes a mistake, who controls everything through sheer force of will. Diego doesn't fit that story anymore, so you're cutting him out." Elena feels the ground shifting beneath her feet. "That's not, isn't it? When was the last time you hugged him without checking his pupils? When was the last time you asked how he was feeling instead of what he needed? When did our son become a problem to be managed instead of a person to be loved?" The questions hang in the air between them, each one a small knife finding its mark. Elena wants to deny them, but the truth is more complicated than either love or pride. She's been running on autopilot for so long, fix the crisis, write the check, hope for change, that she's forgotten how to simply be Diego's mother. Outside, Diego has cornered Carmen by the pool, and Elena can see her sister's face, growing increasingly distressed. Whatever he's telling her, it's working. Carmen's soft heart has always been her weakness, and Diego knows exactly how to exploit it. "He's manipulating her now," Elena says, nodding toward the window. Roberto looks out and sighs. Maybe he's just talking to his aunt. "Look at her face, Roberto. Look at how he's standing, how he's gesturing. He's working her the same way he worked you by the grill." As if summoned by their conversation, Carmen appears at the kitchen door, her face flushed and worried. "Elena, could I talk to you for a minute?" Elena and Roberto exchange glances. They both know what's coming. "Diego told me about some trouble he's having at work," Carmen begins, her voice careful. "Something about a project that fell through, and now he's in a difficult position. Financially." Elena watches her sister's face, seeing the same expression she's worn herself for 3 years. The desperate hope that this time the story makes sense. This time the crisis is real and solvable and temporary. "How much did he ask you for?" Elena's voice is gentle but knowing. Carmen's face flushes deeper. "He didn't ask for anything. He seemed so worried, and I thought maybe..." "Carmen." Elena's voice stops her sister mid-sentence. Our son is a drug addict. He's not in trouble at work. He's in trouble with drug dealers. And right now, he's using the same techniques on you that he's used on us for 3 years. The words hang in the air like smoke. Carmen's face cycles through disbelief, recognition, and finally, heartbreak. "Are you sure?" Carmen whispers. Elena nods toward the powder room off the kitchen. "Check the trash can. I found a needle in there an hour ago." The silence that follows is deafening. Through the window, they can see Diego pacing by the pool, checking his phone obsessively. His movements are becoming more agitated by the minute, and several family members are starting to notice. "What do we do?" Carmen asks, her voice small. Elena looks at her husband, then her sister, then out at the family gathering that's slowly disintegrating into whispered conversations and worried glances. "We stop pretending," she says finally. "We stop enabling. And we pray that rock bottom, when he finally hits it, doesn't kill him." Roberto's phone buzzes with a text message. He glances at it and his face goes white. "What is it?" Elena asks. Roberto holds up the phone. The message is from Diego. "1 hour. If I don't have the money in 1 hour, I'm leaving and you'll never see me again." Elena stares at the message, feeling the last piece of her old life crumble away. Outside, their family continues the charade of normalcy, but inside the house, everything has changed. The clock on the kitchen wall ticks toward 4 o'clock, and Elena Martinez prepares to lose her son in order to save him. Elena emerges from the kitchen like a woman walking toward her own execution. The backyard that seemed festive an hour ago now feels like a stage set for tragedy. She can see Diego by the pool, cornering her nephew Marcus, Carmen's youngest, with the same desperate energy he's displayed all afternoon. The sight of her son targeting a 19-year-old boy fills Elena with a rage she's never experienced. "Diego." Her voice cuts across the backyard conversations like a blade. A word. Every adult head turns toward her. The children, oblivious to the undercurrents, continue splashing in the pool, but the grown-ups sense the shift in atmosphere. Miguel turns off the music. Carmen grabs her husband's arm. Roberto emerges from the kitchen behind Elena, his face grey with dread. Diego straightens, his mask of casual charm slipping for just a moment before snapping back into place. "Sure, Mummy, just catching up with Marcus here." "Marcus, go help your grandfather with the grill," Elena says, never taking her eyes off Diego. The boy, smart enough to recognize adult trouble when he sees it, mumbles an excuse and retreats. Elena moves closer to Diego, close enough that only he can hear her words. "I found your needle in my bathroom." Diego's face flushes, but his voice remains steady. "I don't know what you're talking about. The same bathroom where your cousin's children were playing hide and seek an hour ago." Eleanor's voice is barely above a whisper, but it carries the force of a hurricane. "The same bathroom where my grandchildren might have found your insulin needle and accidentally stuck themselves. It's not." "Don't." Eleanor's word stops him cold. "Don't insult my intelligence by lying to my face while you're high at my family gathering." The conversations around them have died completely. Even the children in the pool have gone quiet, sensing something terrible happening in the adult world. Diego glances around, suddenly aware that they have an audience, and Elena sees the exact moment his desperation transforms into something darker. "You want to do this here?" Diego's voice remains low, but there's a threat in it now. "In front of everyone? You brought drugs into my house. You're high in front of your family. You just tried to manipulate a 19-year-old boy into giving you money." Eleanor's voice begins to rise despite herself. "So, yes, Diego, we're doing this here." Diego's composure shatters like glass. "You have no idea what you're talking about. You sit in your perfect house with your perfect life, counting your perfect money, and you think you understand anything about what I'm going through." "I understand that you're killing yourself," Elena shoots back. "I understand that you're destroying this family piece by piece. I understand that every dollar I've given you has gone straight into your arm. That's not true. Then explain the needle, Diego. Explain why you're sweating in 70-degree weather. Explain why you can't stand still. Why you can't look anyone in the eye. Why you've been to the bathroom 6 times in 2 hours. Diego's face twists with something between rage and panic. You don't know what you're talking about. You never know what you're talking about. You think, because you clawed your way out of poverty, everyone else's problems are just weakness. I think, Elena says, her voice deadly calm, that you've confused my love with stupidity for the last time. Your love, Diego laughs. And the sound is ugly and broken. When did you stop loving me, Mummy? Was it when I got arrested? When I dropped out of grad school? When I lost the job at the bank? At what point did I become an embarrassment instead of your son? The question hits Elena like a physical blow, but she doesn't back down. You became an embarrassment when you started choosing drugs over family. When you started lying to people who love you. When you started stealing. I never stole from you. You stole my credit card last Christmas. I borrowed it for $8,000 in cash advances. The number hangs in the air like an accusation. Elena can hear Carmen gasp, can feel Roberto's presence behind her like a shadow. The entire family is watching their private nightmare play out under the Miami sun. Diego's face crumples, but when it reforms, there's something desperate and dangerous in his expression. Fine. You want the truth? Here's the truth. I owe money to people who will kill me if I don't pay. Not rough me up, not break my legs, kill me. And my mother, who claims to love me, would rather see me die than write one more check. That's not... It is! Diego's voice explodes across the backyard. You'd rather bury a son than admit you failed to fix him. Eleanor feels something snap inside her chest. I would rather bury a son than enable his suicide. The words echo across the yard, final and terrible. Several family members have moved closer, trying to intervene, but Eleanor and Diego are locked in their own private war. You want to know when I stopped loving you? Eleanor's voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries more weight than shouting. I didn't. That's the problem, Diego. I love you so much that I've spent 3 years watching you kill yourself, one needle at a time. And I kept believing that my love could save you. But it can't. And paying for your drugs isn't love. It's just slow-motion murder. Diego stares at her, his face cycling through rage, hurt, and finally, cold calculation. So, that's it? You're just going to let me die? I'm going to let you live with the consequences of your choices. Diego nods slowly, as if Eleanor has confirmed something he suspected all along. Fine. Then you can live with the consequences of yours. He turns and walks toward the side gate, moving with sudden, frightening purpose. Roberto steps forward as if to follow, but Diego wheels around. Don't, Diego says, his voice carrying a warning that stops his father in his tracks. Don't. Follow me. Don't call me. Don't try to fix this. I'm done with all of you. Eleanor watches her only child walk away, every instinct screaming at her to run after him, to take back her words, to write whatever check will bring him home. But she forces herself to stand still, knowing that chasing him now will only reset the cycle that's been destroying them all. The gate slams shut with a finality that echoes across the silent backyard. For a moment, no one moves. Then Carmen steps forward, tears streaming down her face. Eleanor. Don't, Eleanor says, her voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside her chest. Please, just don't. She turns and walks back toward the house, leaving her family standing in stunned silence beside a pool where children's laughter has been replaced by the sound of everything falling apart. Behind her, she hears Roberto's voice, quiet and broken. God help us all. Elena doesn't look back. She can't. Because if she does, she'll run after Diego and write that check. And tomorrow there will be another crisis, another ultimatum, another chance for love to be confused with enabling. The kitchen door closes behind her with a soft click, and Elena Martinez finds herself alone with the wreckage of her perfect Sunday and the terrible weight of doing the right thing for all the wrong reasons. Elena stands at the kitchen sink, mechanically washing dishes that are already clean. Through the window, she watches her shell-shocked family attempt to salvage what remains of their gathering. Carmen is trying to engage the children in a game, but her voice lacks its usual enthusiasm. Miguel has turned the music back on, but the volume is respectfully low. Roberto sits alone at the patio table, staring at his phone as if willing it to ring. The silence inside the house feels different from the quiet outside. Heavier, more permanent. Eleanor has been alone in this kitchen countless times, but never like this. Never with the weight of watching her only child walk away, possibly forever. Her hands shake as she sets down a clean plate. This is what she wanted, isn't it? No more manipulation, no more lies, no more watching Diego destroy himself one check at a time. She got exactly what she asked for, consequences. So why does victory feel like death? The front door opens with a bang that echoes through the house like a gunshot. Elena freezes, dish towel in her hands, as heavy footsteps move through the foyer. For a moment, hope flickers in her chest. Diego has changed his mind, come back to talk, ready to accept help on her terms. But the footsteps are wrong, too deliberate, too angry. And when Diego appears in the kitchen doorway, Elena sees something in his eyes that makes her blood turn to ice. Diego. Her voice comes out as barely a whisper. He's holding Roberto's gun, the .38 Special her husband keeps in their bedroom safe for protection. Diego's hands are shaking, but his grip on the weapon is steady enough. His pupils are dilated to pinpoints, and sweat beads on his forehead despite the air conditioning. "Sit down, Mammy." His voice is calm, almost conversational, which makes it infinitely more terrifying than if he were screaming. Elena doesn't move. "Where did you get that?" "Your bedroom. The safe combination is my birthday, because even your security system is about controlling me." Diego steps into the kitchen, and Elena can see the desperation radiating off him like heat. "Sit down." "Diego, let's talk." "Sit down!" The explosion of sound makes Elena jump, but she still doesn't move. Outside, she can hear Roberto's voice, rising in alarm, can see shapes moving quickly past the window. Her family knows something is wrong. "You want to talk now?" Diego continues, his voice dropping back to that terrifying calm. "After I walked away, after you made your speech about consequences and letting me die. Now you want to talk?" Elena forces herself to focus on her son's face, looking past the gun, past the dilated eyes, searching for some trace of the boy she raised. "I always want to talk to you, mijo, but not like this." "Like what?" "Honestly, with all the cards on the table." Diego's laugh is sharp and broken. "This is the first honest conversation we've had in 3 years, Mammy. I'm finally showing you exactly who I am. You're showing me what the drugs have made you." "No." Diego shakes his head violently. "The drugs just made it easier to admit this truth. I hate you, Elena. I hate what you've done to me, what you've done to this family, what you've done to yourself in the name of love." The words hit Elena like physical blows, but she keeps her voice steady. "You don't hate me. You hate yourself. Don't psychoanalyze me." Diego's voice cracks with rage. "Don't you dare stand there and pretend you understand what's going on in my head." Through the window, Elena can see Roberto approaching the kitchen door. She catches his eye and shakes her head almost imperceptibly, praying he'll understand. The message: "Stay back." Roberto freezes, his face a mask of terror and helplessness. "What do you want, Diego?" Elena asks, forcing herself to focus on her son instead of the gun in his hands. "I want you to give me the money. I don't have $15,000 in cash." "Then write a check." "The banks are closed. It's Sunday." Diego's face twists with frustration. "Then we'll wait until tomorrow." "And then what? You pay off these dealers and disappear? You get high for a few more months until you owe someone else money?" When does it end, Diego? It ends when you stop pretending to care about me and admit this is all about your reputation. Elena stares at her son, seeing him clearly for perhaps the first time in years. The beautiful boy who brought her dandelions is gone, replaced by this stranger who looks at her with such hatred that it takes her breath away. You're right, she says quietly. Diego blinks, caught off guard. What? You're right. Part of this is about my reputation. Part of this is about the story I tell myself about being a good mother. Part of this is about controlling you, because I couldn't control my own childhood. Eleanor takes a step closer, ignoring the gun. But the biggest part, the part that's killing me right now, is watching you destroy yourself and knowing that my love isn't enough to save you. For a moment, Diego's mask slips and Elena sees her little boy again, terrified, lost, desperate for someone to make everything okay. But then his face hardens again. Your love has conditions, Mummy. It always has. Love me, but be successful. Love me, but don't embarrass the family. Love me, but only if I fit into your perfect life. That's not true, isn't it? When was the last time you hugged me without checking my arms for needle marks? When was the last time you asked how I was feeling instead of what I needed? When was the last time you treated me like your son instead of your biggest failure? Elena opens her mouth to deny it, but the words won't come. Because buried in Diego's drug-fueled accusations are grains of terrible truth. She has been checking his arms. She has been treating him like a problem to be solved. She has been loving him conditionally, even if she didn't mean to. I love you, she whispers. No, Diego says, his voice breaking. You love the idea of me. You love the son you wanted, not the son you have. Outside, Elena can see that the entire family has gathered near the kitchen windows. Children are being ushered inside other houses. Someone, probably Miguel, is on the phone, likely calling the police. Diego, Elena says gently, give me the gun. Let's go get you help. Real help this time. I'm past help, Mammy. We both know it. No one is past help. I am. Diego's voice is flat, certain. I've been dying for 3 years. You just haven't been willing to admit it. Elena feels something breaking inside her chest. Not just her heart, but her fundamental understanding of how the world works. She spent her entire adult life believing that willpower and love could overcome anything. But standing here, looking at her son's hollow eyes and trembling hands, she finally understands that some battles can't be won by the people who love you most. So what happens now? She asks. Diego's grip on the gun tightens. Now you choose. Give me the money or live with what happens next. Elena looks at her son, really looks at him, and sees the truth he's been trying to tell her for months. He's already gone. The drugs haven't just changed him, they've consumed him. The person holding the gun isn't her Diego anymore. It's what's left after addiction has finished feeding. I can't, she whispers. Diego nods, as if he expected this answer all along. Then you can live with the consequences. Elena closes her eyes and thinks of Roberto, of Carmen, of all the people outside who love her. She thinks of the life she built from nothing, the dreams she achieved through pure determination. She thinks of the little boy who used to climb into her bed during storms, and she thinks of the stranger standing in her kitchen, pointing a gun at her heart. I love you, mijo, she says, opening her eyes. But I won't save you anymore. Diego's face crumples, and for one terrible moment, Elena thinks he might shoot himself instead of her. But then his expression hardens into something cold and final. Goodbye. Mammy. Elena sees his finger move on the trigger and feels a strange sense of peace. She did the right thing. It might kill her, but it was right. The last thing she hears is Roberto screaming her name. The gunshot cracks through the afternoon air like thunder, cutting through children's laughter and adult conversation with surgical precision. For one suspended moment, the world holds its breath. Pool pumps humming, ice clinking in abandoned drinks, the distant sound of someone's television drifting over backyard fences. Then chaos erupts. Elena Martinez collapses beside her kitchen island, her body folding in on itself with a dancer's grace that makes the violence seem impossible. Blood spreads across the white marble countertop she polished just this morning, mixing with drops of lime juice from the chicken marinade in a tableau too surreal to be real. Roberto's scream pierces the air, a sound that will haunt everyone who hears it for the rest of their lives. It's the sound of a man watching his world end in real time, raw and primal and utterly broken. He hits the kitchen door at a run, but Miguel is already there, grabbing Roberto's shoulders, holding him back from the scene inside. "Don't," Miguel gasps, though whether he's protecting his brother from the sight or from Diego is unclear. "Roberto, don't!" Through the kitchen window, the family can see Diego standing over his mother's body, the gun still in his hands. His face is blank, shocked, as if someone else pulled the trigger and he's just now realizing what happened. Blood pools beneath Elena's still form, stark against the pristine white tiles she chose because they were easy to keep clean. Carmen's high, keening wail joins Roberto's screams, but her voice breaks on her sister's name. "Elena! Elena!" She pushes past her husband, trying to reach the kitchen door, but Miguel blocks her path with his free arm. The children in the pool have gone silent, treading water with wide, frightened eyes. The older cousins understand enough to be terrified. The younger ones just know that all the adults are screaming and something terrible has happened to Tia Elena. Diego drops the gun. It hits the kitchen floor with a metallic clatter that seems impossibly loud after the deafening crack of the gunshot. He sinks to his knees beside his mother's body, his mouth moving soundlessly. From outside, no one can hear what he's saying, but his lips form the same word over and over. "Mummy, mummy, mummy." Someone, probably Miguel's wife Rosa, is screaming into her phone. "911, we need police and ambulance at 1247 Coral Way. Someone's been shot. My sister-in-law. She's not moving. There's so much blood." Roberto breaks free from Miguel's grip and crashes through the kitchen door. The scene stops him cold. His wife motionless on the floor, their son kneeling in her blood. The weapon that destroyed their family lying between them like an accusation. "Elena!" Roberto's voice is barely a whisper now, all the fight gone out of him. He drops to his knees beside his wife, afraid to touch her, afraid that moving her will somehow make this real. "Elena, mi amor, please." Diego looks up at his father with eyes that seem to belong to a different person entirely. I didn't mean to, Papi. I just wanted her to..." His voice breaks. "I just wanted her to love me." "She did love you." Roberto's voice is thick with tears. "She did love you, mijo. She loved you so much it was killing her." More sirens are approaching. Police, fire department, ambulance. The cavalry arriving too late to save anyone. In the distance, neighbors are emerging from their houses, drawn by the sounds of emergency vehicles in their quiet Coral Gables neighborhood. Carmen finally pushes past Miguel and reaches the kitchen. She stops in the doorway, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh, Elena. Oh, my sister." Diego is still kneeling beside Elena's body, his hands hovering over her as if he wants to touch her, but doesn't dare. "She wouldn't listen," he says to no one in particular. "She never listened. She always had to be right, always had to be in control. Even when it was killing me, she had to be right." Roberto looks at his son, this stranger who shares his blood, and feels something die inside his chest. Not love exactly, because you can't stop loving your child no matter what they've done. But hope dies. Trust dies. The future they might have had dies right there on the kitchen floor beside Elena's body. "Why?" Roberto whispers. Diego meets his father's eyes, and for a moment, he looks like the scared little boy who used to have nightmares. "Because she was going to let me die, Papi. She was going to let those people kill me rather than help me. What kind of mother does that? The kind who loves you enough to let you face consequences," Roberto says, his voice steady, despite the tears streaming down his face. "The kind who would rather watch you learn to save yourself than enable you to death." Diego stares at his father as if Roberto is speaking a foreign language. Then his face crumples completely, and he begins to sob. Deep, racking sounds that come from somewhere beyond grief, beyond regret, beyond anything that could ever be fixed. The first police officer appears in the kitchen doorway, weapon drawn, taking in the scene with professional efficiency. A man kneeling in blood, a woman on the floor, a gun on the tiles, an older man crying over both of them. "Step away from the weapon," the officer commands. "Everyone step away from the weapon." Diego looks up, his face streaked with tears and blood. He doesn't resist as the officer approaches, doesn't try to run or fight or grab the gun again. He just kneels there beside his mother's body like a broken doll, waiting for whatever comes next. "I killed her," he says simply as the handcuffs click around his wrists. "I killed my mother." The officer reads him his rights in a voice trained for moments like this. But Diego isn't listening. He's staring at Elena's face, peaceful now in death, finally free from the weight of loving someone who couldn't love himself.